He was more than a man. He was an empire in human form. His name shook nations, his voice moved armies, and his shadow stretched from the deserts of Arabia to the walls of Jerusalem. But what happens when the man who conquers the world dares to challenge heaven itself? This is the story of Nebuchadnezzar, the golden king of Babylon, the ruler who believed he could reach the throne of God, a man chosen by destiny, yet blinded by pride. A man who built wonders that kissed the sky and then fell to the dust like the idols he adored. In this film, we will walk through his rise, his madness, and his redemption, through the splendor of Babylon's walls and the silence of its ruins. We will see how even the mightiest can fall when they forget who gave them breath, and how mercy can rebuild what pride has destroyed. Stay with us until the end to learn the lessons hidden within this king's downfall. Lessons about power, humility, and the mysterious patience of heaven. Because this story is not only about a king, it is also about us. About every heart that has ever built its own tower, higher, stronger, brighter, only to see it crumble in a single moment of divine silence. About every soul that has ever whispered, "This is my doing," and forgotten the hands that lifted it. Now, take a breath. Step into the golden city of Babylon. The gates are opening, and the story, the warning, the revelation is about to begin. Let's begin. The world was breaking apart. The empires that once ruled with iron were collapsing into dust. For centuries, Assyria had been the terror of the earth. Its armies burnt cities in the name of their god Ashur. But when the allied armies of Babylon and Media came against it, the proud Assyria fell in a storm of fire, and an age came to its end. To the west, Egypt stirred again, proud and aging, desperate to reclaim its ancient glory. To the east, a new power awakened. Babylon, long overshadowed, rose under King Nabopolassar, who broke free from Assyrian control and built a throne of his own. And at the heart of this rising storm stood his son, Nebuchadnezzar, the heir to Babylon, a young prince whose ambition burned brighter than the desert sun. He was not born into peace. His childhood was filled with war, rebellion, and the noise of collapsing empires. He learned early that power was not inherited, it was taken. His tutors taught him the laws of Hammurabi and the myths of Sargon, but his father taught him something greater.
Remember this, my son. Kingdoms are not inherited, but defended. The gods favor the hand that acts, not the heart that waits.
From the time he was 15, Nebuchadnezzar rode with soldiers. He studied the movement of armies, the silence before battle, and the hearts of men. He learned to read the stars and to see opportunity where others saw chaos. He believed destiny was not a gift from the gods, but a weapon forged by human will. When he was about 25 years old, the time came to prove himself. In 605 BCE, the Egyptian pharaoh Necho II marched north, hoping to seize the broken lands of Syria and the remains of Assyria for himself. If he succeeded, Babylon would be trapped between two empires, with Egypt to the west and the fading shadow of Assyria to the north. Nebuchadnezzar led his father's armies to meet him. Two giants of the ancient world faced each other on opposite sides of the Euphrates River near the fortress city of Carchemish. The Egyptians came with the confidence of their ancestors. Their chariots shone beneath the sun, their banners painted with the eye of Ra. The Babylonians came leaner, silent, hardened by years of rebellion and rebuilding. And at their head rode Nebuchadnezzar, the prince who saw the battlefield as a board of chess. He watched the river for days, waiting for Egypt to move. When the moment came, He struck with precision. Under the cover of night, his engineers redirected the flow of the Euphrates, flooding the plains and trapping the Egyptian chariots on in heavy mud. At dawn, Babylonian archers darkened the sky with arrows. Their infantry advanced like a tide. The roar of battle shook the earth. By midday, the chariots were sinking. By dusk, only smoke and silence remained. The Pharaoh's army was broken. Egypt's pride was shattered. And in that victory, Babylon became the heart of the world. That day, Nebuchadnezzar became more than a general. He became a legend. The nations that had once bowed to Assyria now looked east to a new master. The chronicles say that the Euphrates ran red for 7 days. Some said the Egyptian survivors fled across the desert until the Nile swallowed them. Whether myth or truth, one fact endured. Babylon ruled the world, and Nebuchadnezzar ruled Babylon. But even in triumph, fate moved quietly. News reached him on the battlefield. His father, Nabopolassar, was dead. Nebuchadnezzar removed his armor, turned from the smoke of war, and rode across the desert toward the capital. His enemies expected rebellion and chaos. Instead, they saw unity. The prince who had conquered the nations now became king of Babylon. The years that followed were a storm of conquest. From the mountains of Anatolia to the edge of Arabia, his banners spread like fire. Syria fell, Phoenicia submitted. Even Tyre, the city of merchants, resisted him for 13 years until famine forced its gates open. But one kingdom remained, small, devout, and unbending: Judah. In 597 BCE, the city of Jerusalem stood proud and unyielding. Its king, Jehoiakim, trusted Egypt's promise of aid, a promise that never came. Nebuchadnezzar moved swiftly. His armies surrounded the city. The siege dragged on for months. The people starved. The prayers of the temple turned to silence. When the walls finally fell, Babylon entered like a flood. The temple of Solomon was stripped, its sacred vessels carried away. King Jehoiakim was led out in chains. Among the captives was a young man named Daniel, whose wisdom would one day reach the king's heart. Nebuchadnezzar saw only another servant. Heaven saw something more. Jerusalem's fall was more than conquest. Babylon had struck the city of the living God, and though Nebuchadnezzar did not know it, a greater battle had begun. Not between nations, but between man's ambition and heaven's will. He returned to Babylon crowned with glory. The prophets called him the rod of God's anger, but in his own eyes, he was the hand of the gods. When the noise of victory faded, peace filled the air. Babylon began to dream again, building instead of burning, shining instead of shouting. But above that peace, heaven still watched in silence. Peace soon turned into pride. The world bowed beneath Babylon's rule, and its king believed that even heaven had surrendered. Under Nebuchadnezzar, the empire entered an age of splendor without equal. In the heat and dust of Babylon, his queen, Amitis of Media, longed for the scent of pine and the sound of rain on leaves. So Nebuchadnezzar commanded that a garden be built for her. Terrace by terrace, his builders shaped it, carrying soil from the valleys and water from the river below. When it was finished, the garden rose like a forest suspended between earth and sky. At first, it was an act of love, but as the years passed, he began to see the garden not as a gift to his queen, but as proof of his own greatness. He would look over the city and whisper, "The gods once made Eden. Now I have done the same." And in his heart, the king began to believe that he was not chosen by the gods. He was one of them. He did not know that heaven had already begun to answer. One night, the king awoke trembling. His spirit was troubled by a vision he could not forget.
I saw it, a statue standing upon the earth plain, taller than the mountains, shining brighter than the sun. Its head was gold, its chest of silver, its legs of iron, and its feet of clay. Then a stone appeared, not carved by any hand. It struck the statue, and I heard the sound of it breaking, like thunder that tore the world apart. When the wind came, nothing remained, nothing but dust.
The king's heart pounded. He called for his magicians and wise men.
I have dreamed a dream, but I will not tell it. If you are truly wise, reveal to me both the dream and its meaning. If you cannot, you will die.
Fear filled the palace. No one could speak. And as the guards raised their swords, a voice was heard among the captives, calm and steady. That voice was from Daniel, who said, "No man can reveal this mystery, O king, but there is a God in heaven who shows what is hidden." Then Daniel spoke the dream aloud as if he had seen it himself.
You, O king, saw a great statue. Its head of gold is you, Babylon, and your glory. But after you shall rise another kingdom, and another after that, until all the empires of men are gone. Then the God of heaven will raise a kingdom that will never fall.
The court fell silent, and the king was trembling. Then he said,
Truly, your God is the God of gods.
For a time, he was humbled. He clothed Daniel in purple and honored him among the wise. But pride is like smoke. It fades for a moment and then returns. Years passed. Babylon shone brighter than ever. The king's image filled the land. He commanded a colossal figure of pure gold to be raised on the plain of Dura. When the trumpets sounded, the crowds bowed in worship. All but three, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refused to kneel. They said they would serve no god but their own. Nebuchadnezzar's fury shook the palace. "Who is this God who can deliver you from my hand?" he shouted. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter. The men were bound and cast into the fire. The people waited for screams, but none came. Inside the flames, they saw 4 figures walking unharmed, 3 men and one whose form shone like the Son of God. Nebuchadnezzar rose from his throne, his face pale. "Servants of the Most High God," he cried, "come forth." The men stepped out. Not a hair on their heads was burned, and the king bowed before them, declaring, "There is no other God who can save in this way." For a time, his heart was moved, but the seed of arrogance, though buried, was not dead. For years, Babylon stood unchallenged. Then one night, the king awoke trembling. He had seen a vision, vast and terrible. A great tree rose from the earth, its top touching the stars. Birds rested in its branches. Beasts found shade beneath it, and nations lived under its shelter. Then a watcher descended from heaven and cried, "Cut down the tree, scatter its fruit, but leave the stump bound in iron, until it learns that the Most High rules over the kingdoms of men." The king awoke in fear. At last, Daniel came before him to explain the dream.
The tree is you, O king. Your greatness reaches the heavens, but you have exalted yourself above them. You will be driven from among men until you learn that heaven rules.
Daniel's eyes softened and proceeded to say, "Turn from your sin, show mercy, and perhaps your peace will last." But pride closed the king's heart, and heaven waited for a while. One evening, Nebuchadnezzar walked upon the roof of his palace. He lifted his hands toward the horizon and said, "Is this not Babylon the Great, which I have built by my power and for my glory?" The moment the words left his lips, the sky split apart and a voice answered from above, "O Nebuchadnezzar, To you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you. You shall be driven from among men until you learn that the Most High rules over all the kingdoms of the earth. The sound struck him like a blade. His crown fell from his head. He staggered, eyes wide and unfocused, the language of men fading from his mind. The king of Babylon collapsed into the dust, no longer a ruler, but a creature. His hair grew long and tangled, his nails curved like claws. When the guards found him, he was crawling through the gardens, his hands clutching the soil as if searching for meaning. Out of fear and shame, they led him beyond the gates and left him among the fields, where no one would see the fall of Babylon's glory. Beyond the city walls, the king started to wander like a lonely figure. He ate the grass of the earth and drank the rain from puddles. The seasons turned. The gardens withered. The empire endured, but its heart was gone. And through it all, the watchers of heaven kept their vigil, waiting for the moment when pride would break and truth could finally enter. One night, under a quiet sky, the beast lifted his eyes to the heavens, and for the first time, he understood. I bless the Most High, he whispered. His dominion is everlasting. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All who walk in pride, he is able to humble. As the words left his lips, something changed. The trembling stopped. The wildness faded from his eyes. The coarse hair that had covered his body began to fall away. The claws softened back into hands. The beast's stare became the gaze of a man once more. He lifted his face toward heaven, and for the first time in years, he remembered who he was. When his servants found him, they fell to the ground and wept. They bathed him and clothed him. The man who returned to the throne was not the same. He looked upon the poor and the humble with kindness. He ruled in awe of the God who had broken him and then rebuilt him. And whenever pride stirred within him, he remembered the voice that had called his name from the sky. The years passed, and peace returned to the empire. Under his reign, Babylon became the wonder of the world. Its towers gleamed in the desert sun. Its rivers carried gold and song. But time does not bow to kings. When Nebuchadnezzar died, his people mourned as if a god had fallen. But without his hand, the order he had built began to crumble. His son Amel-Marduk took the throne, young, ambitious, and blind to his father's lesson. He ruled for only 2 years before he was overthrown. Violence filled the palaces where wisdom once ruled. Greed replaced gratitude. Pride returned. King followed king, each weaker than the last. The priests fought for power, the nobles for gold. The empire that once united nations began to devour itself. And then came Belshazzar. He was Nebuchadnezzar's descendant, a man of luxury, not legacy. He held great feasts in the palace, drinking wine from the golden cups once taken from the Temple of Jerusalem. In his pride, he mocked the God who had humbled his forefather. And that night, as he laughed with his princes, a hand appeared and wrote upon the wall, "You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Your kingdom is finished." Before dawn, the armies of Persia entered Babylon through its unguarded gates. The city fell in silence. So ended the empire of Nebuchadnezzar, not by sword or siege, but by the same pride that once consumed its king. This is a lesson to all of us. We build our own towers, in power, in wealth, in pride, believing they will last. But history whispers otherwise. The rise of Babylon is the story of every generation that exalts itself, and its fall is the warning written across all time. Nebuchadnezzar's life was more than the tale of a king. It was the revelation of heaven's patience, A story that began in pride fell into madness and rose again in mercy. He learned what every man must learn, that power without humility becomes destruction, and that every heart, no matter how proud, can still be redeemed. So remember Babylon. Remember the king who thought himself divine, the king who became a beast, and the man who found his soul again when he finally looked up.